I'm Alexis Geist. I'm 24 years old and I was born with a heart defect. Growing up, I really never considered heart problems to be something that would affect me, something that would affect my family. We were all very active, very healthy. We didn't know of any family history. And so it was something that was just out of my mind. When I started working for the American Heart Association in 2009, and obviously I was a Grad for Women director, it became much more evident to me that there was a bigger health risk for me, just simply because it does kill 1 out of every 3 women. So I think I knew in the back of my mind, you know, as I was promoting the American Heart Association every day, that it was something that eventually I need to be aware of. Again, I never really thought that it would affect me, especially the first year of my service at the American Heart Association. It just never occurred to me it would be something that I would have a problem with. So I just kind of put it out of my mind. I ate fairly healthy, I exercised enough, I did all the right things that I was supposed to do, except one, and that was listening to my body. And so that was, it unfortunately took an event that was very hard on my family to actually find out that we really did have much of a bigger family history than we could have imagined. On September 5th, I got a call that my mom's sister passed away. And it was very sudden, very unexpected. And again, I didn't even consider a heart problem because she was too young. She was only 49 years old. I thought maybe it was a brain aneurysm. I thought it was maybe a pulmonary embolism, something that was not related to an overall heart health or heart problem. So needless to say, my entire family was pretty shocked when we found out that it was sudden heart failure. And part of the problem was that she had mitral valve prolapse, and I believe the medical examiner had said that the valve just completely stopped working. And that was quite a shock to my family because no one knew she had that. But then we started finding out that my grandma, so my mom's and my aunt's mother, has it, and my great aunt, so my grandma's sister, had just found out that she had it as well. And so all of a sudden we have this trail of family history with heart problems, and it took my aunt passing away for anyone to even talk about it or realize that that was something we should be aware of. I'm Alexis Geist, and I support the American Heart Association because of the awareness that they give to women to take a moment and listen to their body and listen to their heart.
Hi, I'm Jill Lewis, and I am a heart and a stroke survivor. I raised our children and I was active in our community. I did all of the things that women do until October 9th of 1999. And that evening I came home from work. I had worked an entire weekend, 2 12-hour shifts in a row. Came home, and I should have known that something was wrong because I walked in the house and my husband had fixed this wonderful dinner. I mean, you know, he'd done a turkey breast and then all the trimmings, you know, and my daughter and my youngest son were there, and we all sat down to have a family meal. And I was trying to tell somebody a story, and I knew that things were not coming out quite right. And I just thought, well, this is odd, you know, but I kept trying to talk. And I remember that I stared at my daughter's boyfriend, who is now her husband, and my head kind of leaned to the side, and I really wanted those mashed potatoes that were sitting there, and I was trying to tell him that, but at the same time this drool was running out of the left side of my mouth, and I kept trying to wipe that away, and my daughter said, "Mom, are you okay?" And I must have mumbled something. I kept trying to tell them that I was fine and I would be fine if they would just let me go sit in a chair. But nothing came out right. Nothing came out right at all. I was having a stroke. So my husband loaded me back up in the car. He missed that part about dial 911. So he loaded me back up in the car and took me back to the very hospital where we had those protocols in place. I was evaluated. I remember thinking this is not happening, but I could not tell anybody that. And then after a while, I was given a drug, a clot-busting drug called TPA, And I really credit the care that I got and the drug for making my life as it is today. That being said, I wouldn't have gotten to the hospital, I wouldn't have received that drug had the American Heart Association not been so involved in educating the community about the signs and symptoms of stroke, in educating my family about the signs and symptoms of stroke, and in the research dollars put toward finding that clot-busting drug. So you can have all the drugs in the world that you want, but if people don't know about them, or if they don't know about the signs and symptoms of stroke, it's a waste of money. I remember standing with my husband outside, and I just broke down into tears, and he just held me, and I said, you know, it's never going to get any better than this, is it? And he said, but you're standing here. You know, this is the best. You're here. So I kind of keep that in my mind every day, that that's the important part. So was I aware of what can happen to women? Was I aware of heart disease and stroke before I had my stroke? Yes. Did I think it was ever going to happen to me? No, because it happens to other people. It never happens. It would never happen to me. I was young, I was healthy, I was all those kinds of things, and no. I am Jill Dewis, and I support the American Heart Association because they gave me back my life.
My name is Kevin Snyder. I'm 32. I lost my wife at the age of 31 to a heart attack. On November 23rd, 2009, I got a phone call on my way home from school, and it was my wife. She said that she wasn't feeling good and she was going to lay down. Then about 20 minutes later, she called me and said she thought she needed to go to the emergency room. I was still about 30 minutes from home, so we got a hold of the babysitter to come over and get the kids, and she was going to take her to the emergency room. When I got home, I swung by home on the way to the hospital, and the babysitter's car was still there. So I went in, and when I was walking through the door, the ambulance pulled up behind me, and Rebecca had passed out on the floor. And the ambulance, the volunteer fire department, they came in, and they started CPR. They had to shock her to try to get her heart going again. Then they moved her to the hospital in the small town we lived in, and they tried to get her stabilized. They probably worked on her for over an hour, and they were going to life flight her to Kearney, but the weather wasn't good enough, so they transferred her by ambulance, and the Kearney ambulance met them halfway. And a friend of mine took me over there, and that night was just kind of up and down. They'd come in and told me they had her stabilized, and then I'd hear a code, and she was the only one in that part of the hospital, so I knew it was her. When they did have her stabilized, they allowed me to go in the room with her. I feel that she knew I was there, even though she couldn't really respond. And then on November 24th, in the late morning, they told us that they had lost her. They had done everything they could. They did some bypass surgeries. They had removed a clot that had resulted from the leak in the artery. And they were hopeful. They had thought before that they would get her heart going. Her body had just been deprived of oxygen for too long, that she just couldn't keep a heartbeat. She was gone, but I think she would have been happy to share that I'm sharing her story with other women, because that was just her nature. She would do anything she could to help people. And if it could wake somebody up, you know, and make them aware so it didn't happen to them, I think she'd be